Members of City Council and those watching at home, good evening. Tonight, for my final time as Binghamton's mayor, I will deliver the budget address for the year ahead. These addresses are about looking forward to the future. Budgets act as blueprints, setting the course for the coming year, establishing priorities, and laying the groundwork for projects across the community. And the 2022 budget is no different. But before I outline spending plans for the year ahead, I can't help but look back on these last 8 years and reflect on all we've accomplished. Across the city, we've seen real progress. Neighborhoods have new streets and fewer eyesores. Downtown is a destination again, with new restaurants, taverns, and events like Luma and Porch Fest that draw tens of thousands of people to Binghamton. Our parks have upgraded amenities and more for kids to do. Our police force, after years of cuts under the last administration, is on its way back to having the resources it needs to keep our community safe. Homeowners and small businesses pay less in property taxes today than they did 8 years ago. There is real momentum in Binghamton, but challenges remain. COVID-19 has tested our community and our country in unimaginable ways. Families and small businesses face real financial uncertainty. An uptick in natural disasters has upended neighborhoods across America as our own community marks 10 years since the catastrophic flood of 2011. Local governments are faced with new obstacles every day, some we couldn't have imagined a few years ago. But here is what you need to know. Binghamton stands ready to meet the challenges of these times. 8 years of tackling the hard projects and making smart fiscal decisions when our economy was strong has positioned our city to get through this uncertainty. By budgeting smarter, growing our fund balance, creating reserve accounts, and paying down debt during the good times, we can weather this storm without passing the buck on to the taxpayer. Binghamton is navigating these times from a position of strength and confidence. The 2022 budget outlines next steps for overcoming present challenges and charts the course for Binghamton's continued progress. The city's 2022 budget totals $99.1 million. The general fund budget, which is what directly impacts the property tax rate, is $66.2 million. It includes employee benefits at $19.3 million, debt service payments of $5.7 million, $2.7 million for transfers to other funds, and $3.2 million for parks and recreation. Salaries and employee benefits are the largest expenditures in the city budget. When you combine police and fire protection, these departments represent 72.3% of the salary costs in the 2022 general fund budget. Last year, the city implemented a series of cost-saving measures during the pandemic, including voluntary furloughs for employees, freezes on hiring and non-essential employee travel, and coordination with departments to limit spending where they could. Altogether, these cost-saving strategies saved the city more than $2.5 million. This cost-saving mindset carried over into 2021. City Hall management, employees, and members of City Council joined me in not taking a pay raise this year. We followed the example of CSEA employees and fire department members whose unions last year worked with our administration on contract concessions, including raise givebacks in light of the fiscal uncertainty. Their sacrifice saved taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars, and tonight I extend my deepest gratitude to them, not only for their sacrifices during the pandemic, but for their years of hard work these last 8 years on behalf of Binghamton residents. The city's largest source of revenue is property taxes, which will remain steady in 2022 at $34 million. Sales tax is the city's second largest form of revenue at $13 million. Consistent annual sales tax growth is an excellent barometer to measure the economic activity of a community. Sales tax has never decreased year to year under this administration, and the last few years have shown the largest sales tax growth year to year in recent memory. My first months in office, the phone rang almost daily with constituents calling to complain about potholes. People were frustrated, and I don't blame them. Binghamton streets were some of the worst around. After years of neglect, our infrastructure was falling apart. I made a promise to change the course and start investing in our city's infrastructure. Since 2014, we have paved or reconstructed nearly 90 miles of street. 90 miles of street. That's 60% of Binghamton's 151 centerline miles in 8 construction seasons. Beyond that, we've replaced aging water and sewer lines across Binghamton and made critical repairs to several bridges. These investments are about not only upgrading our infrastructure, but also making smarter fiscal decisions. Here's the best example I can give you. In 2015, we started a full-scale conversion of the city's 7,000 streetlights to LED technology. It was about fixing an old system that had led to 1 in 10 streetlights being out of service due to burned out bulbs or malfunctioning equipment. But it was also a cost-saving decision that has clearly paid off. In 2014, the city's utility bill for its streetlights was $830,000. Next year, thanks to the energy efficiency of the new LED technology, the city's bill will be $250,000, an annual cost savings of about $580,000 or 70% in savings. In refusing to pass the responsibility of fixing Binghamton's aging infrastructure onto future reconstructions and upgrades to underground utilities. This includes $2.75 million in federal American Rescue Plan Act funds for water and sewer upgrades and eligible use under the U.S. Treasury Department guidelines. By using these federal funds to make critical investments to our water and sewer infrastructure, taxpayers won't be on the hook for costly repairs. Next year's infrastructure plan includes work to streets like Pennsylvania Avenue, Bevere Street, Court Street, Avon Road, Morgan Street, and Jefferson Avenue, among dozens and dozens of other streets. These investments support good-paying jobs and keep money flowing through our local economy. Our years-long effort to reduce blight will continue this fall with the city's next demolition wave. Many of the buildings that were once Binghamton's most notorious eyesores have since been torn down, part of the more than 120 city-led demolitions since 2014. But there are still neighborhoods dealing with vacant, dilapidated properties. The city will raise 11 more of these in the weeks ahead. The city continues to partner with the Broome County Land Bank on properties that don't warrant demolition and can instead be rehabilitated into affordable housing, like at 124 Gaylord Street. Under the city's RISE project, the city planning department redirects vacant properties headed for the tax foreclosure auction and sells them instead to first-time homebuyers or other eligible residents. The long vacant house at 7 Harrison Street on the west side now has a new owner through this program. In our parks, several projects are nearing completion, including the Harper M. Stantz Memorial Courts at Recreation Park. The total reconstruction of the city's premier tennis facility finally addresses years of costly drainage and cracking issues. Nearby, a brand new ice rink will open in the parks this November. I heard from countless kids and families these last 2 years who loved the new temporary rink at Rec Park, but felt it wasn't large enough. Demand for a fun outdoor winter activity had exceeded our hopes, and residents flocked to the rink. Last year, we moved the temporary rink to Sherry A. Lindsay Park on the north side and partnered with the United Way of Broome County to fund ice skates for kids in need. Earlier this month, the city started working on installing a new larger ice rink at Rec Park in what has been dead space between the parking lot and the baseball field. With the original rink returning to the north side, residents will be able to enjoy ice skating at 2 city parks this winter. 2022 budget also earmarks spending for dozens of smaller projects in parks and neighborhoods around the city. When the pandemic hit, City Hall found itself on the front lines of the coronavirus response. We moved quickly to partner with a Southern Tier biotech firm to make same-day COVID-19 testing available to first responders, essential personnel, local healthcare workers, and the public. We waived blue bag requirements for garbage and suspended parking fees. providing hundreds of thousands of dollars in direct financial relief to residents hit by the pandemic. We also made grants available to small businesses struggling to keep the doors open and nonprofits providing lifelines to residents. We set aside $1.1 million to help residents pay rent, utilities, and mortgage bills and prevent evictions, foreclosures, and homelessness. Dozens of households have received aid through the city in the months since, helping to keep families in their homes. As the expiration date for the state and federal eviction moratoriums changed, the city adapted to make sure federal resources were available to meet the community's most pressing needs. Just last month, we gave the YWCA of Binghamton and Broome County $120,000 in federal relief funds to cover the cost of temporary housing for 70 homeless individuals and families in September. The pandemic is not over yet. The city still has more than $615,000 available for residents who need the help now and going forward as the landscape changes. I encourage those in need today to apply by calling 211. Over the course of the pandemic, the city's response has evolved to meet the needs of residents and the demand of the present moment. As we continue to fight back against the virus, there is no more urgent demand than getting vaccines to those who still need them. We all have an important role to play in ending this pandemic. I encourage those who aren't yet vaccinated to talk to your doctor and get the shot. We're continuing to work with our local healthcare providers to increase awareness and our vaccination numbers. As president of the New York Conference of Mayors and a member of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, I was proud to help lead the charge of local elected officials in calling for federal and state aid for municipalities. We fought to ensure every municipality, regardless of population, received direct aid to help with revenue losses and to aid constituents impacted by the pandemic. We also advocated for flexibility in spending of the funds so local governments could address their community's greatest needs. Earlier this year, we learned Binghamton would receive $46.3 million in federal relief funds through the American Rescue Plan Act. The city will use approximately $12 million to make up for revenue lost during the pandemic, a best practice for municipalities outlined by leading national experts. These federal funds present communities like ours with not only a lifeboat to get through the economic challenges of the pandemic, but also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to address long-standing and costly issues made worse by COVID-19. These funds also provide communities a chance to catch up on critical investments, many of which we could not afford to fund on our own. Binghamton is in a unique position because of changing mayoral administrations. With my term ending at the end of this year, I made the decision early on to ensure critical infrastructure projects and community investments moved forward. I was, and frankly still am, concerned that a future administration may squander these once-in-a-lifetime funds, viewing the ARPA money as a blank check for new spending and untested social programs, instead of focusing on the day-to-day functions of city government. These funds should benefit all city residents, which was President Biden's intention. They are not a slush fund for special interest groups who want to ignore the U.S. Treasury guidelines and plot their own rules. With the support of City Council, we are advancing the following projects with ARPA funds. A $4.3 million upgrade to the city's water filtration system, including new equipment at the water filtration plant and upgrades in the water distribution network. These critical upgrades will extend the life of the plant for decades and ensure safe, quality drinking water continues for households across Binghamton. $6 million will fund affordable and senior housing projects across the city, including Phase 2 of the First Ward Action Council's North of Main Revitalization Project. This project will rehabilitate 6 blighted properties and construct a new 4-unit building in the Noma neighborhood, north of Main, providing 23 new units of affordable housing. Funds are also supporting Greater Opportunities North Side Rehabilitation Project, which will fix up 4 vacant properties and create 27 units of permanent supportive housing for families and individuals facing homelessness. The city is investing $1 million to expand local broadband infrastructure. We are partnering with the Southern Tier Network to build out the city's open access, high-speed fiber network. Open access means the infrastructure may be used by many different carriers and fiber service providers, businesses, or institutions not owned by one provider. Fiber is the digital infrastructure of the 21st century, and we will improve access and affordability for high-speed internet for residents and small businesses. Binghamton is taking the lead in making it easier and less expensive for residents and businesses to access affordable high-speed internet and build the foundations that will create more competition in the market. Of the $12 million in ARPA funds assigned to lost revenue, a portion will go to fund the new fire station downtown, the new youth and community center at Columbus Park, and towards a much-needed new parking ramp on Water Street adjacent to Boscov's downtown. In August, we broke ground on the new Binghamton Fire Department headquarters at 235 Court Street. The $9 million facility replaces the 50-year-old downtown station at City Hall, which closed earlier this year due to a structural concern. The new state-of-the-art headquarters will feature 5 vehicle bays, bunk areas for firefighters, a kitchen and dining area, and a decontamination room to prevent hazardous toxins from spreading throughout the facility. It's the latest in a series of major public safety investments that this administration has made over the last 8 years. The city's new Youth and Community Center will break ground this fall. This $7 million investment marks the single largest investment ever in our city's youth. When it opens next year, the new center will provide young people with more of the recreational and educational opportunities they deserve. It's our best chance yet at improving the outcomes of generations of young people growing up in Binghamton. We're also giving Columbus Park an overhaul from families of all income levels who are frustrated and concerned with a lack of opportunities for young people. We know that for young people between the ages of 12 and 16, there aren't enough positive opportunities outside school, and we're working to change that. The Parks and Recreation Department will operate a variety of new programming from the center, which will include a gymnasium, multi-purpose community rooms, a kitchen, and other amenities. All youth programming will remain free for city residents. With half of Binghamton children living in poverty, this investment is long overdue. And the Water Street parking garage has reached the end of its useful life. Unfortunately, parking structures seldom generate enough revenue to pay for their cost, which is why the burden generally falls to the public sector to address this need. By utilizing reserves to help fund a new parking ramp, we can ensure parking revenue covers the overwhelming majority of debt, so taxpayers are minimally impacted, if at all, each year moving forward. Municipalities have until December 31st, 2024 to spend the ARPA funds, and while we've made sure a bulk of the money is being invested in critical municipal capital projects, there are several more years left to spend unallocated money. The funding should be programmed in key areas to invest in Binghamton's future, funding more projects in affordable housing, upgrade our infrastructure, and protect clean drinking water, efforts to mitigate flooding risks for vulnerable families, support for Binghamton's hospitality and tourism industries that were sidelined by the pandemic, workforce development programs and training for the next generation of healthcare professionals, and funding for Binghamton's youth in childcare education to reduce the digital divide, funding for small businesses and nonprofit organizations. We've made sure we have money available for these and other categories. To put our financial accomplishments in perspective, I offer you the following comparison, a financial report card of sorts. In 2014, the city's constitutional tax limit, the legal limit for taxes to be levied, was 88.2%. In 2022, the CTL will drop to 82.2%. And it's a simple concept. The more you raise taxes, the closer you get to the limit. Dropping the constitutional tax limit, as we have done, is a positive financial indicator lending institutions and bond rating companies look at when determining interest rates for capital projects. Utilizing ARPA funds to upgrade the city's water filtration plant means ratepayers will not have to foot the bill for these costly but necessary improvements. And as a result, in the 2022 budget, there will be a 0% increase, meaning the water rates will not go up in 2022. In addition, and this is really good news, in 2022, the debt service from several past water projects the city borrowed money for will be satisfied, which will provide $800,000 in annual savings moving forward. So that means we've given the next administration the option of lowering water rates in the 2023 budget, building water fund balance reserves, investing in more capital projects at the water plant or in water-related street infrastructure, or a combination of all three. Here's another interesting comparison. From 2007 through 2014, your water rates increased by 86.6%. From 2015 through 2022, they've only increased by 7.1%, even with a multi-million-dollar upgrade at the water plant. In 2014, the water fund balance was $562,000, and it will be $1.75 million in 2022, more than triple. Now, regarding the sewer fund. In 2014, the sewer fund had a $4.2 million deficit. You heard that right. The city was in the hole, $4.2 million, due to financial mismanagement. In 2022, the sewer fund balance will be a positive $1.5 million. That's a $5.7 million swing. From 2007 to 2014, under the prior administration, your sewer rates increased by 72% with no major investment in the Binghamton-Johnson City Joint Sewage Treatment Plant. From 2015 through 2022, the sewer rates will have increased by 56%, which is a direct result of the recently completed $275 million rehabilitation project. The point is this. Sewer rates increased significantly before I took office, by 72%, and ratepayers had nothing to show for it. We increased sewer rates by a lower rate, but in order to tackle the largest environmental capital project ever undertaken in Binghamton's history. That project has addressed decades overdue fixes to the plant, and the effluent now discharged into the river is the cleanest it's ever been. In 2014, the city's bond rating was A2, where it remains in 2022. When I ran for this office, I promised residents that I would work hard to deliver the tax relief our city so badly needed. In my 8 years as mayor, I've made no single financial priority more important than stabilizing and lowering property taxes. Every time I campaigned for mayor, I spoke about the disastrous effects of the 52% tax increase forced on city taxpayers by the previous administration. From 2006 to 2014, the cumulative impact of those tax increases meant $67 million out of constituents' pockets and went to City Hall. From 2015 to now, we've refunded $7 million of that. Those tax increases made Binghamton less competitive for economic development projects and hurt families living paycheck to paycheck or on fixed incomes. That's not the case in this administration. Compared to the day I took office in 2014, residents and businesses in Binghamton today will collectively pay $2.26 million less in property taxes in 2022. Each budget I have passed as mayor has either held the line on property taxes or lowered them, and this year won't be any different. In 2022, residential property taxes will again decrease for the 6th straight year by 0.11% for homeowners at $21.89 per thousand. Commercial taxpayers will also see a 0.11% decrease in their taxes. The commercial tax rate will be $40.70 per thousand. I'm proud of what we've accomplished, and I am deeply grateful to Comptroller Chuck Shager and IT Director Lori Clift, who have been instrumental in assembling every single budget we've passed. Their countless hours of hard work and commitment to this city, not just during budget season, but throughout the year, made the victories of the last 8 years possible, and I thank them both very much. Not only are we leaving the next administration in an excellent financial position, but we're also leaving them with healthy financial reserves, courtesy of our hard work building the fund balance and using federal stimulus funds. In 2014, the city's general fund balance was $9.7 million, based on the 2013 audited financial statement. The fund balance will be $16 million in 2022. We are leaving the next mayor $16 million in the bank, more than there was when I took office, meaning there is no reason residential and commercial property taxes should increase in the near future. And in addition to that, there are tens of millions in allocated but yet unspent ARPA funds to ensure the city remains on the strong financial footing it's on today. As I wind down my 8th and final budget address, I want to leave you with a few closing thoughts. First, let me extend my gratitude to all the city department heads for their leadership, vision, and dedication to making our community a better place. And to every single city employee, from the men and women in uniform keeping residents safe, the public works employee out in every form of weather imaginable, picking up garbage and plowing our streets, to those working hard in City Hall offices to deliver results for residents. You have set an example of public service to be proud of, and it's been my honor these last 8 years to work alongside you. I also want to thank the residents of the city of Binghamton for your years of trust, faith, and support. Every hour spent in this building, and there have been many of them, have been spent with you in mind. Working to make good on my promises, deliver real progress, and make Binghamton better for all of us. Serving as your mayor has been the honor of a lifetime. I took office with the goal of leaving Binghamton in a better fiscal position than I found it in. These last 8 years have been an era of unprecedented growth and progress in the city of Binghamton. We have set a higher standard for how local governments think about their use of taxpayer dollars. We've completed transformative projects that others said couldn't be done, all while lowering the taxes of hardworking homeowners and small businesses and getting Binghamton back on solid financial ground. This budget will leave the city in the strongest fiscal position possible. It's also a blueprint that will guide the next administration in the year ahead. Binghamton's future won't be without challenges. Cities grow and evolve, and new obstacles present themselves. But in taking on many of the city's largest capital projects and most urgent problems over the last 8 years, we've cleared a path for Binghamton's next mayor to not only continue the success that exists today, but reach beyond it and take our community to the next level of prosperity, to focus on solving systemic problems that plague cities across America. We have proven Binghamton can be a leader in tackling the tough challenges. It will soon be up to the next administration to make sure Binghamton keeps moving forward. I will leave our next mayor with one thought. The decisions made at City Hall directly affect the lives of residents. They have the power to shape the future of our community and impact the day-to-day lives of those living here in ways big and small. Government should never take the easy way out. And as mayor, you should never lose sight of who you're fighting for and the difference your decisions can make. The 2022 proposed budget is available on the city's website, and hard copies will be delivered to Binghamton City Council. Thank you, and good night.